Bless, bless, bless. It's the Myrie Jane podcast. Bless up to everybody out there. We ain't live, but I'm coming direct. Social media and cannabis once again. I'm going to talk about this. Even though it's been legalized or decriminalized in many places, countries, states, provinces, whatever, it's still not clear about the plant. It's being categorized as a drug right now, still, especially in America. Even though you hear all these laws passing, certain laws passing that you're allowed to consume the cannabis plant. Very strict laws. So I suggest people do your research more and look up the laws in your state. But this is another subject I find kind of funny. Ever since the popularization of legalization, deflation, now they're coming out with these research or these studies about cannabis, about all these things in it and blah, blah, blah. But correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why they legalized these things or made it more lenient to use the plant is because of the research, the years and years of research. That's the only reason it's legalized. Think of it, because of the research. It's the same thing, for example, with cigarettes. They done the research, but they had more ingredients to it, but it's still legal. It's legal. So, and they have what I'm guessing this is the tobacco industry. A lot of the backlash for cannabis, right, is the tobacco industry crying. A lot of it is based off of the tobacco industry complaining because they have all these restrictions on their product. They want the same for cannabis. But the reason it's illegal is because of research. They weren't going to legalize it until they done a lot of research, which it took a long time, let's admit, before they even legalized it. So they must have done a bunch of research. So I find it funny now when you look on social media, there'll be all these studies all of a sudden, recent studies. It has lead in it, it has all this shit in it. A plant. So wait a minute. If you're saying cannabis has all this stuff, are you trying to claim cannabis has all this stuff now? It's a plant, right? And you weren't saying it before. What about everything else what's growing then? We need to question everything else what we're putting in our body. You're saying this is with cannabis, so that means the list goes on. Because they're only talking about it because of popularization of cannabis. Right? What about your fruits and vegetables, people? What's grown? Same way. What about those things? They've been doing all these studies, people claim, and fruits and vegetables are so-called okay, right? Which we know that's not true either. So cannabis is getting a big discrimination. Big discrimination. Check that out. The Myrie Jane podcast. Follow and subscribe. We got the podcast on audio as well as video on YouTube. We got a Rumble channel now because of all the politics with social media. I don't really go on lives anymore on IG because IG is not a place where you can freely express yourself. No. The more and more things change, the more and more you start reading the guidelines to what you sign up for, because they make it look like you got freedom, but you don't got no freedom in their space. You gotta have manners in their house. as you call it. It's their house. So, social media with cannabis discriminated a lot against, right? I don't know how you guys do it in America, but you guys are very tight down there with a lot of things. And these sites are ran by, like, Instagram is an American company. So even though it's legal in my country, Canada, not everything we do, you guys could do. Vice versa, right? Freedom of speech is limited. Or it doesn't even exist. Basically, you can't promote the sale of cannabis. Look into the laws of cannabis. You really can't promote the sales of it online. You can't really promote the sales, but it's a business. It's an industry now. So it doesn't make no sense.
Yes. You know, when I wake up,
especially when you got companies like in America, like Cookies, ran by Berner, who's a smoker. How do you? That's why you have to make a social site. Like, it doesn't make no sense. How do you promote? And you have a cannabis business, like that's what it's really based off. So they're trying to, what they're trying to do to people's business.
Yes, one love.
It's a monopoly because certain people can promote. Sometimes they get away with it on social media, and some people can't. A lot of people can't. So what's really going on? Right now I'm smoking some real strong shit. Strong, but good. Wake and bake. Just chilling. Some Myrie Jane podcast. What's your favorite track?
It's a good vibe, good living, motivate to stay driven, always
It's ain't live.
It's Myrie, no need for stress, nothing less.
Coming straight to you. Some quality.
Got you outside in the rain, that's my sacrament. I have chosen a green plant.
The laws on social media for cannabis, very strict. Not even a picture, they go flag.
So much on the list.
A picture, they will flag that. What's next? The only reason they're struggling with this whole thing now, because a lot of celebrities smoke cannabis, like Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa. The list keeps going, right? A lot of rappers, especially, they're into the weed culture, cannabis culture. Berner, like I mentioned, Be Real. Who else? Berner and Be Real, Snoop, Wiz Khalifa, Currency, even Jay-Z's getting into the cannabis game. There's a lot of people. Corrupt. Ric Flair, a wrestler, legendary wrestler. Probably smoked cannabis a long time, weed. He got inspired by the hip-hop culture to get into this. Let's be straight up. Ric Flair. And then you got Mike Tyson with his. Mike Tyson has his strand. I think it's called Tyson TKO. Tyson TKO. He got his strand. So you see a lot of people getting into the industry. Influencers, big influencers, celebrities. Subscribe to all the channels. You know, it's the only way to really view and listen to my content, because going on live, which I do once in a while, and certain things, they're really restricting the cannabis community.
To the brain, relax with the feeling. Cannabis is for the healing of the nation.
even this video you might not like, right? You gotta clarify this, because in America, cannabis is still identified as a drug. So the rules apply with guidelines to drugs still, even though certain states they say they legalized it, still applies to cannabis. In Canada, it's legalized, but they know it's a herb. So is it really a drug? Because you can't get it in the drugstore. It's only the dispensaries. You can't get it in the drugstore. Either dispensaries or black market again. So what is it? Is it a drug? I know it's not a drug, but what do they classify it as? Because you only could get it in the dispensaries. So is the dispensary another drugstore? Like in your classification, I want to know. Is the dispensaries a drugstore or it's not a drug? You're just admitting it. Like it's not clear, see? Because in America, it's classified as a drug. Up here, it's all legal, but it's not sold in the drugstores. You don't need a prescription. A drug is identified by a prescription. A prescription is needed for a drug. So if you don't need a prescription, that means it's not a drug. You see what I'm saying? It's not even sold in a drugstore. It's sold in its independent stores. So analyze that. Myrie Jane podcast.